All right, munchkins. So for our first video this week, we are going to talk about finding the volume of right prisms. So the first thing to think about is, what is a right prism? Last week we were talking about rectangular prisms, right? Which is what we have right here. A rectangular prism is an example of a right prism. So a right prism will have two bases, right? It will have an identical top and bottom. Those are our bases. And then what makes it a right prism is when you think about these walls that it has, right here, those walls are perpendicular to the bases, meeting at a 90-degree angle, okay? So some other examples of a right prism include a triangular prism like this one. Let's just go ahead and make it obvious here that it does have two identical bases, right? It's got matching bases, and then it has those perpendicular walls that meet at 90 degrees. Similarly, those are really messy, I apologize. Similarly, this bottom hexagon, what are we gonna call that? Hexagonal prism. You can see that it has this top and this bottom, identical bases, and then it's got these 6 walls, all of which are perpendicular to the bases and meet at 90 degrees. So right prisms, identical bases, perpendicular walls that meet at 90 degrees. I've repeated myself like 15 times, I apologize. So last week we were talking about finding volume of a rectangular prism, right? And we talked about doing length times width times height. And that actually fits in exactly with what we're going to be doing with these other ones. So if we're thinking about a rectangle, we can totally do length times width times height. Can we do that, say, with a triangular prism, length times width times height? Not exactly. However, what we are going to do with any right prisms is the volume, that's not where I want to write it. I'll write it on this line. Volume is equal to the area of the base times the height. And so if you think about what we were doing last week, right, with a rectangular prism, length times width times height, well, if we're finding the area of a base, in this case, right, we would do 7 times 3. That's length times width. That is the area of the base times the height, right? So let's do a few examples together here. In this case, length times width, 7 times 3 is 21, and then times our height, 21 times 4 is 84 centimeters, and we're talking volume, so cubed, 84 centimeters cubed. So that's exactly what we did last week, just slightly different. Let's think about a triangular prism. How do we find the area of a triangle? Well, we do 1/2 base times height, right? That's how we find the area. So if we're finding the area of this base right here, we got to do 9.5 times 4. And when we do that, we get 38. Okay, we get 38, but we have to take half of it, right? That would be if this were a square, that would be the area. This is not, it's a triangle. So we're going to take half of that. So we can multiply by 1/2 or simply divide by 2, and we get 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 centimeters squared for the area of the base. Now that we have the area of the base, we can multiply by the height. So 19 times 14, 4 times 9 is 36, 4, 6, 7, 9, 1. Did I do that right? Yeah. 6, that's 16. There we go. 266 centimeters cubed, because we're talking volume. So 266 centimeters cubed is our volume for this triangular prism. I'll try and neaten up these notes for you guys just a little bit. And then last but not least, taking a look at this 6-sided prism, this hexagonal, I'm really struggling with that word, prism. In this case, I'm giving you the area of the base. When you take geometry later on in your math career, you will learn how to find the area of a hexagon. That is not covered in this curriculum, so I'm not going to dive into it in this video. However, if you are dying to know, hit me up on some office hours and we can totally talk about it. So in this case, I've given you the area, which is 166 inches squared, and we are going to multiply that by our height, which is 12 inches. 12, 13, 3, doop, doop, doop. 1,992, and then our unit is inches, and we will cube it because we're talking about volume. Sorry, that's a little sloppy. See if we can neaten it up just a little bit. Perfect. Boop. So to find the volume, area of the base times the height. You guys are incredible. We've got one more video this week talking about circles.